Brass monkey, that funky monkey. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guest Tim Davis. This is the podcast where all three of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater, and now we're going to talk about it in Matt's on the pilot in the parking structure right next to the movie theater. We're going to talk about such things as: should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you bring your family? Should you go alone? Can you bring a date? Should you snack, nap, or craft? Or do you need to pay attention? Or can you slack off? I don't know. We're going to talk about everything about our general movie experience with the movie we saw tonight. And we're going to give it all through the airways into your ears. I am Todd Domer.
And I'm Matt Malloy. And here we are, coming in through your ears. Yeah! All right, so we saw a movie. This movie is called The Monkey. It's a movie about a mechanical monkey of death. And we're going to talk all about it. But first, Tim, is there anyone we might recognize in this film?
There are some recognizable actors in this, but most of them are in small parts that are just kind of there for a scene or two. I will start with them. We have Adam Scott appears early in the movie. He's, of course, most famous for being on Parks and Recreation for a long time. He's been on a few other shows like Party Down, and he's been a prolific kind of comedic actor. Elijah Wood shows up in this as a, it doesn't really matter. Everybody's kind of, these art actors are in like one scene or two just to kind of show up and go, oh, look, it's that person. Tatiana Maslany, who's best known as She-Hulk in the MCU, and she also was on Orphan Black, a very TV show for a while. She's the character's mother in this, the main character's mother.
And married to Brendan P. Hines.
Oh, I didn't know that.
An alumnus of the Ed South universe.
Oh, there you go. And then the lead actor, I don't think he's a household name, but I recognize him. His name is Theo James. He probably, I guess his biggest movies he was in, I did not see them, were the Divergent franchise. He was one of the main characters in that. I recognize him from, he was on, I believe, the second season of The White Lotus on HBO Max. But not a household name, I'd say, but he's definitely the lead actor in this. And then names behind the scenes here. This was based on a Stephen King short story, apparently. And James Wan is one of the producers, of course, prolific horror movie name. And the director himself is Osgood Perkins, who is the son of Anthony Perkins from Psycho.
Who did a recently famous horror movie
called Long Legs. Yes. Got him a lot of fame, apparently.
Wait, go back to the Ed South thing.
So Brendan P. Hines was on early episodes of the Ed South show. He then went to Hollywood, became like a fairly successful actor. He was on like...
the name sounds familiar.
What was he on? He was on some TV show for a long time about lying or something.
Lie to Me.
Married to She-Hulk is what
correct.
The connection is?
Yes.
And he was
so does Ed still have any contact with him? Oh, okay.
It does, yeah. He is listed as from Baltimore.
When he was on the Ed South show, is because you guys hired him? Like, was he like...
No, he was friends
with
Ed.
Oh.
I think they met at CCBC.
All right.
Anyway.
You learn something new every day.
All right.
Yeah.
Small connection. All right.
So...
I was going to say, if Ed still knows him, why hasn't he been on the podcast?
This would be the one to be on.
Or why wasn't he on Ed's podcast?
Right. No, they're not in contact.
I think it means he should reach out.
Yes.
Ed, if you're listening, you know what to do.
Yes. Pressure's on.
In the meantime,
Execute plan Mr. She-Hulk.
All right, so what is the monkey all about? Well, the monkey is a mechanical creature in the movie, The Monkey, who is like an organ grinder style monkey that plays a little drum when you wind him up, and plays some sort of American patriotic music. Also, in this movie, when that happens, someone dies in a fairly... Unexpected, improbable is the word I was searching for. Improbable way. Like, crazy thing might happen and they die. So, that's what this movie is about. That's the setting of the movie. There's a couple brothers who find this monkey when they're young. They're twin brothers. And they have experience with it. They turn the key and people die. And then we flash forward to 25 years. The monkey's been missing, but the monkey has been found now, and people are dying again. And what are they going to do about it? What are they going to do about it? And Todd, at this point, I'm going to ask you, what are you going to do about it? What is your gut reaction to the monkey?
Well, I feel like I should start by saying I was very excited for this movie. And that may be why some of the sting of disappointment is a little stingy. There were things I liked about this movie. There were things that I thought were missed opportunities for sure with this movie. I really thought... I feel like I doomed this movie because I kept... Even before the movie, I was like, this movie better go hard in the paint or else I'm not going to like it. And I
You
feel
did
like...
say that.
I feel like it went hard in the paint just in a wrong way. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I should have been more specific. Yeah, I mean, like, based off of the trailers, I was excited for the story, and I just really felt like the movie started with enough of a juice that I was, like, interested. And then it almost felt like the plane just never took off. Like, we all got really excited, and things were, we were on the tarmac, and then it was just like we stayed there. I felt like the pacing of the movie was real bad at times, and the overall plot story I can appreciate because it got wonky, and I can appreciate that, but it didn't get wonky good. It got wonky, what? Like, and for a movie where, like, the basis of the movie is already kind of wonky, it's like it got a little too wonky. Like, you're like, instead of trying to... It's almost like it started by reinventing the wheel, and then halfway through it wanted to reinvent the wheel again. And it was like too much reinvention. Like, now you've got, I don't know what reinventing the wheel twice in a row means, but you don't have what you could have. I did think the main guy who plays the brothers, I thought he did pretty good. Like, I'm not saying it's at all Oscar worthy, but I thought... Well, I'm torn because I thought his portrayal of one brother was phenomenal, but then his portrayal of the other brother was like, I was like, oh, like, I appreciated Hal, but I didn't appreciate Bill. Like, yeah, I mean, I felt like it took a great concept of a movie, obviously a short story, and when it had to fill in the rest of it, I think it just chose bad directions. Not like I think it could have been something. We were all a little excited about the premise of the movie, and it just made some creative choices that, as you're watching the movie, you're like, I don't know if I'd do that. And then certainly walking out of the movie, you're like, I don't think I'd be anywhere near where you ended the movie versus how I would want this movie to end. So, yeah, I mean, I cannot say, hey, go see it. Like, I don't feel like I can support it like that. If it took a short story and took it into, like, a really cool area and really did really well, I'd be all about it. I'd be like, go see this movie. You absolutely need to see it in theaters. Support the cause. This guy, I don't know. It seems to be his track record now is much more shock than anything else. And I don't know how that's going to benefit him in the long run. Because I feel like this movie sacrificed story for shock, when I felt the story was already on a good path. It just went in weird directions to shock you. I don't know. In general, I can't say go see this movie. I wouldn't say it. It's not going to get a great rating. I mean, I don't think it's the worst thing I've seen, but by far it's not the worst thing I've seen. Certainly by far not the worst thing we've reviewed in this vehicle. But I'm not going to say go see it. So, yeah, that's me. Tim?
Well, Todd, I definitely agree in that the trailer, and not that, not all movies live up to their trailers and all that, but, like, you think the concept, the story is like, oh, this could be a fun little, the trailer shows kind of Final Destination level deaths of, like, things are happening, maybe a malevolent force causing things, to happen. What we got was a very cynical, angry, depressing story that was trying to be funny in how dark it was, but I don't think it was ever that funny. It was just odd and weird and trying to make you laugh out of being uncomfortably shocked, or a big death that's like very splattery. Like a lot of the deaths in this were very over the top and not in the fun way that you're looking for. I think when you go to see a movie like this, all the deaths were so splotchy and like spattery. I would describe it like nothing was realistic at all, and not because if you're gonna do gore, make it like realistic gore at least, or over the top slasher flick type gore. And I don't think this was either. Like death sometimes would happen so fast that it was just a blood spatter, and then that was it, and then the characters barely react or they just sit there stunned, and it wasn't satisfying in that way, if that's the kind of movie you're looking for. And I felt like every character was an awful person and no one you wanted to root for. Everybody was this is in the Halloween Kills category for me, of there was nothing redeeming or to enjoy in this. Halfway through I was done. I didn't care. The deaths had already like beaten me into submission of like none of this is shocking me or even like affecting me anymore. And I don't know, I just think the whole thing, like you said, just went in the wrong direction and didn't do any of what it set out to do, or at least not for me. I also cannot recommend it. I think it's a pretty awful movie. It's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but I would definitely, if someone ever asked me, hey, should I check that out, I'd say I wouldn't if I were you. Matt?
Well, I didn't like it. And
yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I did. I'll differ from you, Tim, in that I thought that some of the deaths were kind of enjoyable and clever. Especially the first death that you see is so elaborate and wild. I laughed out loud when it happened.
Well, that one, yeah, it's like that one was a good start.
Right.
Like to the final destination level of this hits this and this causes this to run into this and then boom. And I enjoy that about the Final Destination movies, but I feel like this one, it started hot and went as cold as you can get.
Well, this movie did fall apart for me as time went on. I thought it really lost its way about halfway through and never really regained. Like, I thought that the beginning of the movie was tight enough with the story that I was interested to find out what's going to happen with this monkey. And then almost everything that happened after we flash forward 25 years, I was like, this doesn't make any sense. I don't really care anymore. The movie's like not following its own rules, or the rules are so vague that you don't understand how the monkey has power and what exactly is the power of the monkey. I will say, I didn't even realize until you said it, Todd, that the twin brothers are played by the same person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just like totally glossed over that. But
Well, I think that's a huge problem with the movie to me, is that you think the movie is about the monkey. It's really about the relationship between two brothers.
right.
Yeah.
But you don't care about either brother,
No,
honestly.
they're
like,
both
right.
awful
that's
people.
the thing. I mean, like, you're supposed to care about the main brother, Hal. And you're supposed to kind of... You're set up to fall for him a little bit because he's the responsible one. But ever since the brothers are introduced in the beginning of the movie, they are unrelatable characters to me.
Yeah.
Like,
And
one
they
brother
weren't
is a
human.
dick for no reason, and you're like, what's happening? Like, I don't... Like, and the other brother is, like, also... I just felt like you could not connect with the brothers, and when the movie became painfully obvious it's about the brothers and not the monkey, then it was like, well, that doesn't work because the monkey's what brought us to the table here.
Right. And I feel like once the brothers grew up, the brother you're supposed to like, he was totally a dick too.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
yes.
like, a bad dad.
Yes.
And anyway, so I'll say I think the some of the deaths were interesting to me. I'm a fan of the casual death is appearing all around us, and there's just like chaos going on in the background that just makes me giggle a little bit. But like those are the redeeming things from this movie for me, and that's not much.
No, they weren't.
And when you put a trailer, and your trailer shows the best deaths of the film in enough detail that when you are watching the movie, you are like, oh, well, I know what's going to happen now.
Yep.
That's one of the best deaths, and it was ruined because it wasn't a surprise at all.
Yeah, I mean, like the trailer shows you that a woman in rollers gets her face lit on fire.
So
Right.
And when they introduce the character in the rollers, you're like, well, we know where this ends up.
Yep, no drama, no surprise.
Yeah. So, anyway, overall, like, there's a few things that I liked. There's a few things that made me chuckle, but really the story was bad. Like they could have just told the story of the young boys and like wrapped it up somehow. Half-hour TV show, that would have been fine with me. But that didn't do that, and so we got too much.
You could go even harder in the paint, which I'm hesitant to say, but we turn it into like an It Chapter 1, It Chapter 2, where it's the boys versus the monkey when they're kids.
Right.
That resolves, and then it's the brothers have to come back together when they grow up to defeat the monkey again.
Yeah, Stephen King already told that story.
I'd much rather watch that movie.
I would too.
Or those two movies.
And to go with what you said about like the bad direction and the bad storytelling, like I just thought the writing was awful too. Like I thought there was lines that were trying to be funny, weird, strange to get a reaction, and for me they did not land at all.
And there's just points where the movie is so incredibly low budget that you're like, what's happening here? Like the sidekick of the Bill of the brother Bill, like in his god awful wig he was wearing, that you're like, what? Why would you let this fly?
Show up out of nowhere and then aren't really. They're just there to serve the plot purpose, and like it was just like there were a lot of bad decisions.
Yep.
Yeah. So, getting down to it here, how many bowling balls would you give this movie? Which I appreciated the foreshadowing of a bowling ball death. And then when it actually happened, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give you props for that one.
Paid off.
You foreshadowed it, and I didn't even... I wasn't even like, you're doing anything right now. 0 being the worst, because then you have 0 bowling balls, and, you know, you're not bowling, you're not anything. You're ballless. 5 being the best, because then those are options, you know, like if you're going for a strike or a spare, you know, like different balls, different angles, all that kind of stuff. You're an expert. You're a pro. Matt?
Who doesn't want 5 balls?
Yeah.
Who doesn't? Well, this movie doesn't get 5 balls. No. They're going to get 1 bowling ball from me out of 5. I just, you know, like I said, there's some things that made me chuckle, but overall, this wasn't a good experience. Story's bad, plot's bad, direction bad, lines, script bad. Just a few redeeming things that gets you out of the 0-point territory and into the whole bowling ball out of 5. And that is what I have to say.
Tim?
I guess I won't be bowling because I won't even have half of a ball. I'm at a 0.4.
0.4. No bowling for Tim.
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not far off from either of you, I don't think. Disappointing. I think it could have gone much differently. I felt like the trailers did a good job of captivating us into the story. I will say one thing that I would like to talk about is the ending, and I will not do it on the podcast because, you know, obviously we don't do that here. But I think my rating is going to come a little bit like... So I didn't hate the ending, but there's a couple of things I would have done differently. But I'm going to end... I'm not far from Matt. I'm like a 1.1 is where I was at. But yeah, I feel like there were so many things going for this movie, like, and it just really feels like a shame that it stumbled so hard. It also could be the perfect instance of what happens. I mean, when a short story gets turned into a movie, it's like, sometimes short stories are just short stories, like, and that's fine.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we review the movie The Monkey. And we gave it an average rating of 0.8 1/3. Bowling balls out of 5. That's bad. I think we'll all recommend that you skip this movie and move on with life. And so thanks for listening. Hopefully this podcast is helpful to you as you decide whether to watch this movie or not. Please keep listening to our podcast. Download it, subscribe to it, do all the things. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da da
da da da.
da da da.